Hey everybody, good evening. I'm excited because I'm finally sharing my thoughts on the Schiit Jotunheim 2 8-track player. No, I'm just kidding. Although I am sharing my thoughts on the Jotunheim. Specifically, I want to share my thoughts primarily in the realm of it being a preamp versus being a headphone amp. Because that's how I've been using it, and it's been really great. But anyway, we'll get to that. But I wanted to share something with you guys and ask a question. The majority of my viewership tends to be males exclusively, between the ages of 30 and about 60. And in that age group, that means a lot of people grew up or were teenagers or what have you in the 80s and 90s. How many of you guys remember a video game called Castlevania? And I'm sure it's probably plenty, right? It was a very popular game. They had it on Sega, Super Nintendo. It was, it was a great games for its time. I just started watching on Netflix. They did like an anime style cartoon, kind of adult cartoon version. And I've been watching it, and it's really good. And it's not really a plug or anything. It's just something that I've been excited about, so I thought I'd share it through my channel. But anyway, let's get to the review of the Jotunheim. So everybody, today we're going to be looking at the Schiit Jotunheim 2. And I picked this up a couple of months ago. I picked it up mainly to use as a preamp. I'm not a big headphone listener. I never have been. But I'll talk about that a little bit. I've mainly been using it as a preamp. Of course, around the front of the unit, we'll have our input selector, gain selector, and this is a preamp. You can turn the preouts on and off, basically. Volume, sort of a power indicator, obviously single-ended headphone and balanced headphone. And a couple little nitpicky things around the front. I wish these switches were a bit longer, sticking out of the chassis, because it kind of makes it a little funky, because this thing isn't remote controlled, so you're using the input switch basically all the time, and sometimes it's hard to kind of gauge which mode you're in. You know what I mean? Am I in the balanced? Am I in the card? I don't know. I just hope I am. And also, when you turn the unit on, this power indicator comes on, of course. But there's also two lights that light up from inside the chassis that are LEDs that are, I guess, on the circuit board. They're orange. This is white. Why do we have to have both? I would actually prefer just to have the orange as opposed to having the white and orange, or one or the other. I prefer the orange, but whatever. Anyway, round the back, we've got, this one is spec'd with a phono card. I got that because I wanted to use it as a preamp. I have a turntable, have a couple turntables, and I wanted to have a turntable input. And most everybody, they talk about the phono card from Schiit basically being sort of a copy or a pared down version of the Schiit Manny. And it's been a while since I've had a Manny, so I can't really do a direct comparison. But if memory serves, it's pretty close. It's very, very close to the sound of what the Manny was. Of course, we have balanced in. We also have single-ended in. We have single-ended out and balanced out. Of course, power switch and power plug. Pretty simple. Also has a grounding post for the turntable as well. I kind of like these because you can do bare wire. They're basically 5-way. You can do bare wire. You can do a spade connector, which is what most turntables that have grounding connections use. But it also has you can also stick a banana in there, which is kind of neat. But yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Basically the same chassis size as the Jotunheim, or excuse me, the Jallarhorn. Really not a whole lot different in that respect. But anyway, let's talk about sound. So what do I think of the Jotunheim 2? Well, I'll tell you what I think about it. I think it's a piece of shit. No, it's actually a great sounding product. It kind of very reminiscent of the Freya S in a lot of ways. Very, very reminiscent of the Freya S. Now, I had the Freya S at one time, but I ended up selling it off because I was trying to pare down components and get rid of having separates and things like that. And something simpler, something I can just flip one switch, the thing comes on. But obviously I'm back to having separates now, so maybe I shouldn't have done that at all. It was a big waste of money. Anyway, other than the nitpicky things like the switch or the LEDs, it's a fantastic build quality. A big surprise was the phono stage. If memory serves, it's been a while since I've had the original Manny, but if memory serves me right, it sounds just as good as the Manny, if not better, in that regard. And that sort of plays well from what I've read online in terms of what other people have commented on about the phono card. It's fantastic in that regard. Another thing is it's very, very good as a preamp. That's my primary method of using it. My headphones, I have a set of Monoprice Classics, which are good headphones, by the way. I got them when they used to be like 15 bucks. I think they've raised the price now to like 25 or 30, but they're still great headphones for the money. I also have a set of Grado SR80Xs, and everything pairs well with that in terms of headphones. Those are the only headphones I have. I don't have anything balanced, by the way. Everything's just been single-ended in that respect. But again, headphone-wise, power works well. It paired better with the Monoprice, in my opinion, than the Grado, but it sounded good either way. One thing that Schiit has really done well over the past couple of years that I've noticed, and it really began with the Azir, it was reinforced when I got the Freya S and paired those two together. But Schiit has really modified their sound, and I mentioned this in the Yallerhorn video, from what it used to be. It used to be kind of romantic and very seductive sounding, which isn't bad, but sometimes it was kind of boring sounding, in my opinion. With the Azir, I noticed it, and again, I really noticed it with the Freya S when they really brought out this continuity circuit, more or less, or the Nexus, maybe that's the case. But they really started having more of a British sound in terms of what they call pace, rhythm, attack, timing, and this has that in spades. It certainly does. It just really makes you want to get up and kind of move to the music and feel the music and all that kind of stuff, and it works really, really well in that respect. It's been, one of my favorite sort of things that Schiit has done over the last couple of years is I don't want to say they've gotten rid of that smoky, seductive quality. You put on something that comes to mind is like Norah Jones, like Come Away With Me, that kind of thing. Something that's very mid-range, very vocal, emotional sounding. It still portrays all that emotion, and it does it really well. Getting to it again, this, like I said, Freya S-wise, a lot of people comment that, oh, it's like the Freya S or it's a mini Freya S. And I would basically agree with that. I mean, it has a really great sound quality. Bass, it does really, really well, comparatively to like the Volley 2, for example, which I also have. And using something like the iFi Zen-Air DAC as a preamp, this has definitely better bass. It can really bring out the layers of bass and the sound of bass, the textures of bass quite a bit more. One thing it always does, which Schiit has always done very, very well, is their mid-range in terms of tonal colors and saturation and that sort of thing. And this equally does that as well. Things like the Volley does it better, I think, just because of the tube. The Volley also does sound staging a bit better, but this has more power. And it also has a sense of flow to the music versus the Volley. This is a definite step up to the Volley. Another thing as well is, I like this is because it's a complete package. It's got balanced ins, it's got balanced outs, it's got the phono card, it's got a phono stage. It's got the headphone. So, in my opinion, if you want it, I would tell people if you're looking at Schiit Audio and you're looking at, oh, I want to get a set of Azirs or the Vidar 2 or whatever, or the new Yallerhorn, and I want to run that, I want to use that XLR input on those things and run them as monoblocks. I would suggest getting something like the Jotunheim over the Freya, or the Freya S for that matter. And I only say that because, again, this is more of a complete package. In terms of, if you want to listen to headphone, you've got headphone. If you want to have the DAC or the phono card, you've got the DAC or the phono card. You don't have to go further. Personally, I have a better DAC, so that's why I opted for the phono card. And in my opinion, the Manny, which is basically what this phono card is, was always sufficient in terms of pleasure. It was like, oh, we've gotten here. And then, yeah, we can have better, but do we really need it? This is more than good enough. And that's kind of the way I've always felt about the Manny. That's the way I also feel about the phono card. Yeah, there are better phono stages, and I've heard better phono stages, but this is good enough. Especially if you're just using something like a Planar 1 or a Planar 2 or a Project Debut Carbon or something like that, or what have you. Anything under $1,000 really. This is more than enough phono stage for your listening pleasure, in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it. You know, I tried to keep this video short. I'm trying to get these reviews shorter. But anyway, stay tuned for upcoming videos and take care.